Jane Buckley from the Oromocto Food Bank is on with us, and a little bit later we'll have Cassandra LeBlanc, the Executive Director of the Fredericton Kitchens, Inc. So we want to talk about the need, of course, this time of the season, but also how the power outages have affected the need as well. So Jane Buckley, no stranger to us, no stranger to our viewers.
Yes.
Welcome to our show, our 100th show.
Thanks, guys. I'm honored to be part of your 100th show. Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much, Jane, and right to it. I mean, how are things going to this evening and this week leading up to Christmas at the Oromocto Food Bank?
Well, the Oromocto Food Bank was a victim of the storm, as many of you know, and we lost a whole day yesterday with the power outage. And this is the week we hand out our hampers. We have prepared almost 500 Christmas hampers to go out this week.
Wow.
And which is a significant amount higher than previous years. And we lost the first day of that. So what that does for us is the first thing it does is it sets me and a few other people on edge for a whole day, standing guard at the freezers and fridges, making sure no one opens them. With the amount of turkeys that are in there, I couldn't afford to have any warm air going into that little space. So we did that all day yesterday and stressed about, come on, let us get power. And finally, at every time my phone rang last night, I answered it with, "Is the power on?" It was very stressful, but by 8:30 last night, our power was on. So we were just over 24 hours. So we were good with our freezers.
Okay, so you did not lose any stored food then.
We didn't lose any of the turkeys and the other kind of important things that are in the freezers. We did lose a lot of the stuff that we had in the refrigerators, like a lot of produce and things like that. But we'll gain it back as the week goes on, and we did it today as well. And what that does, it just makes us work harder on Friday. So if we lose a day through the week, we have to pick that up at the end of the week.
Now, how are you for Friday? Like, let's say, do you need more people to come and help? Is it more of a hindrance to have more people in there where you have the space constraints? Or tell us.
The space is very limited right now. I think what I've said to people is we will put a call out on Facebook if we need people. There are already people telling us they're not available on Friday. So we will put a call out on Facebook, and we've been very well responded to through our Facebook posts for people to come in and answer the call if we need them. But you're right, sometimes too many people is a hindrance.
Well, like last week, I think late last week, middle of the week, you had a real need for over 100 and maybe 150 turkeys. 160 turkeys. And how long that call went out on Facebook, and how long did it take you to fulfill?
3 days.
3 days.
3 days.
That's awesome.
In 3 days, we had what we needed for turkeys.
Now, at this moment,
in either physical turkeys or money to buy them.
Yeah. Right.
Yes.
Right. And at this moment, do you have significant needs? Do you have needs right now if people are looking? I guess you'll always take cash.
Our Christmas hampers are pre-packed. They were all pre-packed last week. So whatever's going in those hampers, we have purchased to finish filling them with the things that we needed. So the needs that we have now will be going forward into January when we're back at it. So 2 weeks in December being completely closed from regular food distribution is difficult for some clients. So we'll have a lot of people in here early January as well. So we're hopeful that we'll continue to have our needs met. But at this moment, we have a pretty good size amount of inventory in stock for this time of year. Surprisingly, we have,
That's great.
That is good, because you said that 500 hampers this year is more than past years. How much of an increase is it, and do you expect the same thing in January?
It's up 75 from last year.
Oh wow!
I think we were at 425 last year. When I came to work here in 2013, we were serving 110 clients, and in that 10-year span, we've gone up fourfold.
Wow. Now, have you witnessed any immediate sort of increase in need because of the power outages, or will that come in a little bit more a little
Yes,
later?
yeah.
Yeah.
What happens when the power goes out for that long, and it's still out in a lot of places that our clients live, and will not be back on until predicted even Friday night. Those people are having a difficult time trying to find a place to put their stuff. So if they come and pick up their hamper today and they have no power, they're going to lose what they get, right?
Yeah.
In the perishable category. So yeah, there are some challenges there that we may have to address as we get closer to the end of the week.
Now, in the at the Oromocto area food bank, the end area, what's the catchment area? How far and what's the population? What's the area that you
Well,
serve?
we're out as far as Hoyt, and all around the back area, Fredericton Junction and Nason, right up to the edge of Nasonworth, I guess. We cover Gagetown, Cambridge Narrows, Gemseg, Lakeville Corner. We have some clients in Waterboro and Burton, Gary,
Yeah.
all kind of a way around to Lincoln and Majorville. So it's probably it originally was 27,000 population. Then we added the Cambridge Narrows, Gemseg area, and the Lakeville Corner and their whole catchment area out there. So we're up almost to 40,000 population area.
Okay. Now, one thing I've noticed on Facebook as well, you have a number of groups of people coming in to help, different military units, sports teams. Tell me about that. That's a new thing, or certainly something I've noticed, anyways.
Yeah, at Christmas time, we have a lot of groups that like to come in and help in the month of December. But that aside, I mean, we've had some government groups in and government offices and things like that have come in, and we have sports teams that come in and help us out. And sometimes we have Girl Guides and Scouts that come in and do a 2 or 3 hour stint, and it's all part of their giving back programs that they have within their own organizations and businesses. And the military is a little bit of a different situation. We've made a few partnerships with different branches of the military that have allowed us to call on them on short notice if we have a strong need. And there's a group of military members that have developed an outside group. I forget the name of them, but there's like 20 or 30. Cassandra knows the name of them, I know. There's like 20 or 30 people part of this group, and they look after our weekend needs. So our own volunteers that are here all week don't have to be here on the weekends. They do the pickups and the deliveries for us, and in the last 2 months, we've had them come in one morning through the week, different groups to just come in and help us move stuff. And as you know, the mean age of volunteers now is it used to be 60, then it creeped up to 70, and I'm going to tell you that we have at least 4 in their 80s that come in here, at least 3 times a week. But I am challenged to prevent them from doing that kind of heavy work. So when I get the younger people in here from the military, I can kind of impose that on them, and it allows them to stay longer and be in a much more relaxed environment.
Yeah,
So
that's good.
So Jane, want to switch gears a little bit and talk about your reclamation efforts. So reclaiming food and reusing it and getting it back out to the people in need rather than it being wasted. Tell us a little bit about that part of your program, where it comes from, how many pounds a year you actually go through. I know it's a substantial number. And tell us about some of your future plans that we're looking at.
It's not something we ever kept track of until last year, and then it just all of a sudden grew, and it grew because the stores and the donors and things like that were given permission. They were given permission to give their food away, and not be held liable if there was any issues under the Good Samaritan Act, and we act as well under the Good Samaritan Act. So we receive food from Sobeys. We receive, the reclamation food from Sobeys and Sobeys Warehouse and Costco. They would be our biggest suppliers. And last year, in a 12-month period, we received, processed,
distributed
distributed in one form or another almost 700,000 pounds of food in our small little kitchen in the back with the volunteers that we have. And what we do is we go through it all. We pick every berry and make sure that everything is good that's going in the package. We cook it, or we freeze it, or we distribute it out as it is, or we mix it in with other things. We freeze dry it, and I mean, not just recently. In the last year, we received a grant and we bought a 24 tray dehydrator. So we've taken to dehydrating things. We have packages now in the freezer of stew packs like carrots and onions and celery, all dehydrated, ready to drop in your soup. So there are all kinds of things like that that we're doing with the food. It's a wonderful program. We use that food to provide hot meals for kids in the schools, and also for our clients as we're kind of shifting into that year where we make the food, we heat seal it, we freeze it, and then it goes out in the backpacks for the weekends to the school kids, so that they can have a hot meal on the weekend that's homemade. And we do the same thing with soup, homemade soup, and we use that reclaimed food to prepare that food. We use it as part of the process. We buy as little as we have to.
Yeah, well, that's an enormous amount given that would otherwise be thrown out. So to those
Yes.
organizations, that is great. Anything else you'd like to say in case we don't get you on to say too much, because we'll have Cassandra, but anything you'd like to say to our
Well,
viewers?
I mean, again, every time you get a chance, you thank everybody. You thank everybody. Thank you guys for having me here. Thank all the people that are looking out for us out there and supporting us and donating to us. We couldn't do it without you. Thanks to our volunteers. Thanks to my staff here that are wonderful and get things done. And but yeah, that's about all I can say is
How can
a huge thank you to everybody.
I mean, apart from the food and the solid goods, how can people best donate cash, Jane? E-transfer?
They can donate to us in person, on the telephone with a credit card, through Canada Helps, on our website and on our Facebook page. I think there's a donate button that takes you right into Canada Helps, and people can donate that way.
Perfect.
Well, that's great.
That's good.
Well, you're going to stick around just for a bit there, Jane, in case we need to circle back around.
Yeah.
There might be a question or two, or we'll be able to say goodbye at the end. But thank you, Jane, so much for joining us.
Just tell you the name of that group.
Yes, that's right. Well, Jane Buckley, the executive director of the Oromocto and area food banks. So thanks very much, Jane. Now let's move over. We've got Cassandra LeBlanc, the executive director of the Fredericton Community Kitchens. So Cassandra, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. How are you guys?
We're great. We're great. We're very, very fortunate people.
Yeah.
I guess this time of year, you really appreciate, I hope, that what you have personally and what you're able to do to give. And then to see organizations like the Community Kitchens, like the Oromocto Food Bank and area, and so many other organizations that reach out and are helping, it really just can't help but feel emotional.
Yeah.
Well, and we wanted to actually, this is a little different for us tonight, to bring on two different guests on the same show, but this close to Christmas and the need high. Of course, Cassandra, your group, the Fredericton Community Kitchens, the need is high all the time, and we want to get into some of that discussion on how you've seen your numbers increase, not just like this time of the year, but all year. And do you see a difference when there's power outages like this or not?
Yeah. So just to touch on your first question, kind of just touching on the general need and where things are in Fredericton right now. So we serve mainly the Fredericton area, the greater Fredericton area. We have a few schools, especially with our student hunger program, that we help outside the Fredericton area. But our programs are a little different than the food banks. We are mainly focused on hot meals. So we do a daily meal program 7 days a week that we offer meals every single day, 3 meals a day, Monday through Friday, 2 meals a day on the weekend. And then we have our student hunger program in the schools that we offer free lunches to any student in need. So with those programs, like, we've seen such an increase in need over the past few years. And I know Jane can attest to this. I know as our organization, we were up 45% since 2021. And we're looking at being up again this year from last year. So it's just wild how much the need has increased over the past 2 and 3 years. And it's pretty intense. I know at the community kitchens, when you come to a meal service, it's hard to find a seat these days just because the need has been so much higher than it typically has been. But with the power outage, we were impacted not quite as much as Oromocto Food Bank. Thankfully, only one of our locations was impacted, where we run our student hunger program out of. And we were lucky that within a few hours that day, we had power again. So we were on standby, though. My staff had everything ready to go from that walk-in fridge to our other location. And we were just kind of waiting and seeing and trying to protect all the food. But I think the impact that we saw the most that day is the students that go to the schools. So a lot of schools were closed because of power outages. And you know what I always feel bad for on those days is the students that didn't get the lunches that day because school was closed. That's really where I felt there was impact with the power outages. That's what we saw, at least.
So you said multiple locations, community kitchens. Are they just kind of drop in? People can just pop in. Do you have a registry? How do you work that? And do you give the locations?
Yeah, absolutely. So our main location is 65 Brunswick Street behind the Victoria Health Center. That's the location a lot of people know as the soup kitchen. That is open 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We're getting ready for our Christmas dinner on Christmas Day, actually. And that is open to anyone. There's no registration required. You just come at the meal service times. You come hungry and you leave full, and that's really all that's required at that location. It is just drop in during the meal service hours, but we're always open from about 7 a.m. till about 6:30 p.m. every single day. And if people knock on our door, we will answer it and get them something to eat. But our other location across the river on the Leo Hayes High School property is where we run our student hunger program out of. So that's where we prepare all those lunches for about 18 to 20 schools. And then we also run a backpack program every week where students can take home food to their families over the weekend. And we do about 200 backpacks a week through that program. And that's, again, out of that location. So that location's more of a warehouse hub that's always pumping out food. And then the Brunswick Street location is more of a drop-in location.
So at Leo Hayes High School, you have quite an operation there. Is it a partnership with Leo Hayes? Like you use the facilities there, and that's a significant number.
Great question. Yeah, so you might have noticed there's a small building, a little blue building on the property when you first pull into Leo Hayes High School, and that is called Kim's Kitchen. And that is our kitchen, and the whole student hunger program actually started with a partnership with Leo Hayes High School, and that's continued. During the pandemic, we actually occupied their cafeteria in order to do a grocery delivery every week. So we have a strong partnership with Leo Hayes, but the building is the community kitchens. Yeah.
Okay, and when you talk about your increase in numbers, what type of total numbers are you talking about as individuals that you help throughout the year?
Yeah, absolutely. So we count meals that we give people just because, our programs are very based around protecting people's identity and making sure people feel comfortable and that there's no barriers to accessing the food.
Good.
So in 2022, we did over 190,000 meals to the Fredericton community.
Wow.
And this year we will be well over 200,000 meals to the Fredericton community. It's looking probably around 220,000. Wow. So it's been a pretty crazy year.
Wow. And let's just say that Leo Hayes Operation for Students Hunger, 20 schools, and that's on a daily basis?
Yeah. So we run that program 5 days a week. So during the school year.
And you have to you transport the food out then to each of the schools?
Yeah, so we make about 300 lunches every day. And the lunches are made the day before, and they're refrigerated in all the separate coolers. The schools place their orders every week with us. And then the next day, they're picked up around 7 in the morning and delivered to all the different schools in the Fredericton and greater area for students in need.
That takes quite a regiment of
Yeah,
volunteers. How many
Yes,
people do you
we
have
have-
like on a daily basis that would come in? 20,
that's what
30, 40 people?
So for all of our programs, we would have probably a minimum of 20 people. But usually we would see upwards of 30 people that come through the doors.
Wow.
And just in 2022, we registered 400 new volunteers to
Wow,
our
excellent.
organization. So we have a very big volunteer list. It requires a lot of volunteers every day to do what we do. It would be impossible without our incredible volunteer crew.
No kidding.
Yeah,
So I'm curious.
amazed.
How many people are you expecting on Christmas Day? How many are you planning for? To
So
feed, not to.
Yeah,
have
that's a great question. It is a bit of a toss up on Christmas Day because, you know, homeless people and people that are living in precarious situations all also still have families. So at the holidays, a lot of them still are able to spend time with their families. On a typical day, we give out about 500 hot meals, but we'll only be doing the one meal on Christmas Day. So we would be planning for about 100 to 150. We'd probably cook for about 200 just to be safe. And we're also providing the Christmas dinner for both the shelters in the city, the St. John House, Grace House, and the Oak Center uptown. So we also deliver meals around the city to different locations to make sure that everyone is getting a hot meal and isn't going hungry.
Well, how do you keep up with the demand, the increase in demand? As you mentioned, last year was 190,000, and then this year will be close to 220. How do you keep up with that demand? And where are you at in the scale of need, I guess, this season?
Yeah, so we keep up by doing a lot of things like this, a lot of interviews, a lot of fundraisers, a lot of hand cramps from grant writing and applications. So it's been very challenging. You know, our expenses are up, you know, almost 100,000 more than we projected for 2023.
Wow.
Thankfully, I think, you know, it's looking by the end of the year with the way the donations have been coming in that we'll break even, but it is always, you know, it's always a guessing game. And a lot of places like us, our funding comes in that last month of the year. We get funding throughout the year, but we get a lot of our funding in those last couple of months of the year. So you kind of just hope for the best and cross your fingers and do everything you can to bring the money in and to make sure that you can make ends meet. But at the end of the day, all you can do is do your best.
Yeah, well, that's great.
Well, it's amazing. I
Because
had
you
no
guys-
idea it was this
No.
extensive.
No, and that's why we dig into these, these little discussions and bring people on like yourself. So not just us can understand it, but people that are watching, our viewers can understand what the real need is.
Oh, I so appreciate that
You know.
because, you know, I think it's easy, you know, sitting in my comfortable home right now, it's easy to be excited about the holidays and not be thinking about, you know, all these problems happening in the world and food
Yeah.
security and homelessness being one of the things that isn't always fun to think about or talk about. But it's so appreciated that there are so many people in our community that do take it upon themselves to think about it and to do something about it. Because quite honestly, you know, Oromocto Food Bank, the Fredericton Community Kitchens, none of us could do what we're doing without the support of the community. And I know our organizations need that kind of support now more than ever. And we need our community to help us to lobby government to help get the things that we need because, you know, we've seen record-breaking increases like never before to food banks and soup kitchens, and it is unsustainable. So it's just, you know, we got to keep talking about it
Yeah.
and we got to keep looking for solutions, right?
Yeah, in just 1 year, you know, just 1 year that increase.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's quite significant. I mean, if you think, I mean, it's a whole other discussion for another time, but just the billions of dollars in support over the last 2-3 years, but we still have a greater need than ever before. So that's, you know, we'll have to look into some of those topics and those sort of questions in the new year and get some guests on about that too.
Any plans for next year? Anything on the horizon, Cassandra?
Oh, we have lots of plans. So I've been spending my time this time of year is budget season for my organization. So dreaming about what we want to do in 2024. We have some renovation type things we want to do to brighten up our space and continue to make it welcoming. So looking to maybe redo our flooring and get a few new equipment. And then we're looking to expand our programming. We want to help the community even more than we do. And we want to provide training and employment opportunities to people that might struggle to find those opportunities. So we'll be looking to do that, and also bringing some more fun and exciting fundraisers to the Fredericton community. I love to put on events, and we'll be putting on some new events this coming year.
Oh, good.
Great. Well, we want to thank you, Cassandra, and we want to thank Jane as well with the Oromocto Food Bank, Cassandra LeBlanc with the Fredericton Community Kitchens, and we've only got a few more seconds, I guess, to go, and then we'll wrap up the show. But any comments you guys would like to make?
Just thank you both and your organizations for doing what you're doing, and the other countless organizations in our region that help those people at this time of the year and all year round. Just a special word, I guess, for people to, as they go into the holiday season, to keep others in mind and be,
Mindful of that.
be mindful of that. And you just never know what your neighbor is facing. So always a kind word here and there is helpful, especially now with the power outages. There's a lot of frustration and angst. Check on your neighbors. It's going to get a little cooler, and those people that are maybe have a hard time getting around, getting out.
And we're I think overall we're such a generous, greater community in New Brunswick. But if you've given, that's great. If you've given and have a little bit more to give, consider it. Consider it for sure.
Yeah, because
And it can be scary sometimes for people, like giving a big amount. It doesn't need to be a big amount. And even considering donating monthly, I'm sure both Jane and I have the capacity for people to sign up. It could be $5, but you get 100 people giving $5 a month. Suddenly, that means quite a bit to an organization. So it doesn't have to be a lot.
That's a good point.
And I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want to say the group that Jane mentioned, because I'm getting the stink eye from my boyfriend that may have been involved in starting this group, is the Oromocto Community Engagement Group. So
great.
I got to mention that.
I'm glad.
Thank you
I'm
to
glad.
them.
Yes.
Thank you to those people.
Blames. Yes.
All right.
Okay, got to get going.
We gotta go.
Everyone, Merry Christmas. Thank you. Happy
New
New Year. We'll see you again soon. Thank you, Jane, and thank you,
you,
Cassandra.
everyone.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Have a good
Merry
night, everyone.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.